seconds. Yeah, now we are on YouTube.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the quarterfinals match of the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament 2022. Today's match in the quarterfinals will be between the teams from Kathmandu University and the University of Colombo. The topic of the match was announced 10 days ago, and it is about the debate statement for the teams was with regard to the right of work and diverse cultures and economies. There nevertheless needs to be the same minimum legal age for employment in all countries. So after the introductions for each of the participants, we'll do drawing of the positions, and the teams will have 5 minutes to finalize their preparations, and we'll start with the team in the pro position. So I would like to give the floor to Ms. Pradhan for the introduction.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Vastika Pradhan. I'm a fourth-year law student at Kathmandu University School of Law, pursuing business management and law. I'm very excited for today's debate, and I wish my teammates as well as my colleagues from the University of Colombo all the best.
Thank you very much. Giving the floor now to Ms. Abewikrama.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mithuna Buddha Bevikrama, and I'm a final year undergraduate of the law faculty from the University of Colombo from Sri Lanka. And I wish all the best to my colleagues and my team members from Kathmandu.
Thank you very much. And for now, the floor is yours, Ms. Detail.
It's nice to be here back again. I would like to also wish my colleagues and my opponents for the competition a very good luck. I look forward to an exciting debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gamaga, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Am I clearly audible?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Tharushi Gamage from Faculty of Law of University of Colombo, representing Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Pandey, the floor is yours for introduction.
Hello everyone, I'm Osmita Pandey and I'm a fifth-year law student from Kathmandu University School of Law. And yeah, I wish all the best to everyone, including my teammates and my colleagues. So very exciting.
Thank you very much. And for today's match, we also have Ms. Yoshi, who's the coach for the Kathmandu University team. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Shreya Joshi. I'm coaching my team from Kathmandu University as an alumni. I wish all the very best to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For today's match, our team from Corex Foundation, which is organizing the competition, me, Anna Maria Urbanova, and my colleague Aurélien Flavange will be hosting today's match. So we'll start now by my colleague sharing the screen to draw the positions for the match.
Yes, so I put it in place on my screen. Now we share my screen. So in a few seconds you will see as well the allocation of positions. So now you should see the wheel spinning. And of course there are two possibilities for each university to be in favor, to be against. So
yes,
now
on the WebEx, it's still not visible. It's a different window.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
Right. I have plenty of things on my screen. Up. I will share it again. First time I make a mistake sharing my screen in all the match I did. So
that's all right.
Now it should be the right one. Is it okay now?
It's still a different window, I believe.
Oh, wait, stop it again.
So as you can see, sometimes there's connection issues for the teams. Sometimes there's a sharing screen issues for our organizing team. So different things happen during the competitions, and we always work around them. So it's completely fine.
So now I clicked on what I can see, but I don't know Is it still... It's not the right screen?
No.
Oh, I don't know why. Yes, so I will share the link with my colleague. We share our own screen. And...
Oh.
No,
Oh,
yes?
there it is. There it is. Now we can see it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good news. So let's start it again. So there are two possibilities for each team, as you can see, to be in favor and against. So I will just click in the center, and we will know which position you will have for this match. So this is the University of Colombo. We will have the position in favor, and as a consequence, that will be Kathmandu University will be against the motion. So,
Right.
yeah.
To clarify, the team from the University of Colombo will be defending the statement that with regard to the right to work and diverse cultures and economies, there nevertheless needs to be the same minimum legal age for employment in all countries. And the team from Kathmandu University will be arguing against this statement, so arguing that with regard to the right of work and diverse cultures and economies, there nevertheless does not need to be the same minimum legal age for employment in all countries. So we will now have 5 minutes to finalize your preparations. You may close your cameras, and we'll start after they pass with the team from University of Colombo for 4 minutes.
Hi.
Yes, so it is finished.
Thank you, everyone. So to conclude your preparations, we will now start with the debate. So starting with the team from University of Colombo, for the proposition, you have 4 minutes for your opening statement.
Before I begin, may I confirm that I'm both clearly audible and visible?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, dear judges and my friends of the opposition. Today, there are millions of children around the world at work instead of school. Is this justifiable? By recognizing that the right to work should be respected by giving due consideration to the child and the economy, I'm Netmutwa Baby Krima presenting the debate with my colleague Tarshikamki. We will be arguing for the statement that with regard to the right to work and diverse cultures and economies, there nevertheless be the same minimum legal age for employment in all countries. Setting the parameters of the debate, we recognize the availability of Western, Southern, and Northern cultures around the globe, and recognize diverse economies as the least developed, developing, and developed states. Along with that, we identify various forms of employment, such as agricultural, industrial, light, and hazardous forms of work. As per the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, everyone has the right to work and the freedom of choosing employment under favorable conditions of work and guarantees protection against unemployment. By giving the discretion to countries to decide their minimum age depending on economy and culture, what they hamper the most is the interests of children. Thus, we propose a policy that the minimum legal age of employment should be 18 years. Why do we say that a minimum legal age of employment should be imposed? Firstly, we see that setting a minimum legal age for employment delegitimizes child labor. Labor laws and regulations are the primary instruments used by many countries to combat child labor. The last 15 years has seen a massive surge in these laws as international pressure has encouraged low-income countries to sign international conventions related to the prohibition of child labor and to pass labor laws consistent with the principles of those conventions. It further puts children at greater risks since they fail to negotiate with their employers for safe, healthy, and fair work environments. For example, countries such as Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Bolivia, who have been given the discretion of deciding the minimum age depending on their economy, have shown massive increase of child exploitation over the years. Therefore, since the detrimental effects of child labor are common to all countries and children, regardless of their economy or culture, a minimum legal age should be imposed. Secondly, a minimum legal age aims to ensure the right to education of children. Child labor results in school dropouts, which will lead to the violation of the right to education of children. Education is often the key to accessing other rights, so a denial of education has serious implications for enjoyment of all other rights. Thus, employment should not obstruct the child's education. For example, as provided in Article 32 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, a child should be protected from economic exploitation and from performing any work that is likely to be hazardous or which interferes with the child's education. Thirdly, we see that the present motion is in line with trends of public international law. The International Labour Organization's Minimum Age Convention sets the general minimum age for admission to employment or work at 15 years. The convention has been ratified by a vast majority of 174 states up to date. Other conventions that set a minimum age limit includes the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, the European Social Charter, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and the European Union's Charter of Fundamental Rights. Therefore, since it is critical to ensure the protection of children and their right to education wherever they live and to conform with the trends of public international law, we propose a minimum legal age for employment regardless of the economy and culture of the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now the floor is for the Kathmandu University for their opening statement. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. I'd like to ask if I'm audible and visible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. I'll start now. Good evening, and good evening, honorable judges, my esteemed colleagues from the University of Colombo. I am Asmita Pandey, the first speaker for the opposition, and we strongly disagree with the notion that there can be a uniform employment age across this diverse world. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Any dictatorial attempt to impose a uniform minimum employment age across all countries in the world is a product of ivory tower syndrome that ignores the plight of poor across the Middle East, African continent, and the global south. We oppose this idea of a minimum employment age on three grounds. Firstly, the imposition of blanket standard by ILO is impractical. Secondly, it does not account for the diverse cultural and sociological understanding of work. And thirdly, there is an increased risk of further exploitation of those whom we seek to protect. Firstly, I'd like to explore how the imposition of blanket standards is impractical. The blanket standard by ILO, as concurred by the opposition, is 15 years. However, they've raised the number to 18 years. However, I'd like to point out that both of these numbers are just arbitrary. The minimum age approach is a problematic approach to deal with the issues of labor exploitation. This has been addressed by ILO's working papers as well as legal historians. Specifically, Marion Dallin, a legal historian, has critiqued that this fails to adjust to the contemporary realities of working children. The reasons why this is impractical are obvious. Child labor occurs in context of small-scale, informal sectors that are very difficult to control by laws and labor inspections. Minimum legal age legislation passed in poor countries where child labor is most prevalent is mostly motivated by global political concerns rather than groundwork realities. Addressing that, I'd also like to point out the example of Bolivia, which increased its minimum age legislation, but was forced to decrease it again due to the movements and due to the lobbying by the Child Laborers Association and Child Laborers Union. So now let's focus on the different understanding of work, different cultural understanding of work. I'd like to point out a survey done in Pakistan, which showed that a strong cultural belief was persistent, and it was seen that child employment was considered to teach children moral skills and ethical attitudes at an early age and work habits at an early age, which would eventually help them increase their life standard. And these such cultural differences, as I explained earlier, are also visible in different countries such as Bolivia. And these cultural differences in different countries result in the definition of child labor being different, and therefore causing non-implementation of an arbitrary number which is imposed by an international organization. Thirdly, I'd like to explain how imposing this arbitrary number only increases exploitation instead of decreasing it. Without addressing all the economic conditions, if we impose a number without considering all the economic conditions that push these children to work, the moment the official eyes are averted, they will return to work, and they will be forced to work in unregulated conditions, in more hazardous conditions, and in conditions where exploitation is routine. Many children work to help pay for their school, and as regards to the employment and as regards to their education, if they cannot earn and if they do not have the money, then they cannot attend school. So the blanket provision only shifts the propensity of exploitation. A number of studies have shown that large declines in child employment is only seen when poverty is alleviated, and it is also in line with it is also in line with the Child Rights Convention, Article 4, 18, and 26, that these core facilities should be provided to children in order to stop exploitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we are entering the round one of the rebuttals. University of Colombo, you have 2 minutes.
Before I begin, may I confirm that I'm both audible and clearly visible?
Yes, you are.
Honorable judges, the opposition raised two major concerns regarding the implementing of this motion. First, that there are differences between different countries around the world. Second, that this motion is impractical. In response to that, I have two levels of argument. Even though we respect the fact that there are vast socio-economic disparities existing between developed and developing countries rights of children in a developing country should be as equally important as rights of children who were born into a developed country. Honorable judges, a child who was born in a least developed country by the mere circumstance of birth should not be led to suffer burdens of their economies. Furthermore, children should not be deprived of their wonderful childhood and right to education simply because their government failed to build a sustainable and a suitable economy within their country. Therefore, we as the proposition firmly believe that international human rights and labor law standards to protect people should be enforced consistently across the world and in concert, especially when the concerns are about vulnerable communities. Asserting that some aspects of international law are legitimate while others can be disregarded is indeed a dangerous precedent. For an example, giving the individual countries the discretion on setting a minimum age of employment can possibly end up in a condition where the country has set no minimum age requirement, such as in India and Pakistan, which is referred to by the opposition, where we can see that thousands of children are being exploited on a daily basis. Hence, countries must not be allowed to cherry pick international law. Secondly, we as the proposition believe that permitting child labor to continue is economically costly and not impractical. As it has been proved from a study conducted by the ILO, eliminating child labor in transition and developing economies could generate economic benefits nearly 7 times greater than the cost. For those reasons, we strongly propose. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for the first round of rebuttal, the team from the Kathmandu University, you have 2 minutes.
Firstly, I'd like to thank the opposition for their incredible remarks. However, I'd also like to disagree. Firstly, regarding their point about how the number is essential and how the children in developing world should not be, or in the global south should not be differentiated to the children in the global north. I'd like to point out an example of a very global north country, that is America, which has not yet ratified the minimum age convention. So only imposing these laws, only imposing the arbitrary number will not guarantee implementation, will not guarantee enforcement, and in absence of safety nets, also acknowledged by the opposition, will only force these children to turn to more exploitative means to fulfill their needs. Saying this, I'd also like to point out that the examples of India, Pakistan are were used to illustrate the cultural differences and in the cultural variations of how work is imagined and how work is culturally different in various countries. States and nations are, unlike what the proposition believe, have the responsibility to take care of their children. However, national countries' discretion is important regarding to their economic and social conditions and their cultural beliefs of what work is and how, and it is important for them to own the policy and help poor families according to their conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission. Now we are entering the second round of rebuttals. Team from University of Colombo, you have 2 minutes.
Honorable judges, before proceeding with my substantive argument, one main point to be addressed in this debate. It is argued by the opposition that failing to maintain a fixed minimum age of employment may not put children at greater risk, but the proposition which we advocate would increase the child exploitation over the years. We have to respectfully disagree with what they have said. Why? Because children, for various reasons, are less able than adults to negotiate with their employers for safe, healthy, and fair work environments. The pressure of family expectations can also cause children to endure exploitative or abusive conditions that adults would not accept. For example, Human Rights Watch has interviewed children who were beaten and forced to work for 18 hours a day by their employers, but did not report it to their families or authorities because of a sense of family obligation. Honorable judges, I ask, can anyone actually justify this kind of work in a world No, we can't. And also, that being said, now I may advance my substantive argument. As we all know, in today's world, skills and knowledge learned in formal education settings are becoming increasingly important and mandatory even to get an entry level job. Now, the job market not only requires having the primary education, but it also requires the secondary and tertiary education. But making children under 18 to work just because their parents and government has decided to do so would certainly violate their right to engage in higher education and would lead them to get stuck at a low level job. A population that is uneducated, unqualified, which resulted from child labor, will not definitely lift a country from underdevelopment. Instead, it will definitely repeat the vicious cycle of poverty. For these reasons, please propose. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your submission. Now for the against position, the team from Kathmandu University, you have 2 minutes.
Before starting, I'd like to confirm if I'm both audible and visible.
Yes, you are.
Honorable judges and esteemed colleagues, I'm Swastika Pradhan, the second speaker of the debate arguing against the motion. I thank our esteemed colleagues for their brilliant arguments, but I have to respectfully disagree. I'd like to start by pointing out that the conventions that the proposition is referring to provides nations with the power to determine their own minimum age. For example, the ILO Convention number 138 allows for the possibility to temporarily set the general minimum age at 14 for countries whose economy and educational facilities are insufficiently developed, therefore recognizing the need for a different minimum age for different countries. States and nations, unlike what the proposition would like to believe, have the responsibility to take care of their own children. National countries' discretionary is important for the state to own the policy and help poor families. The concern for lack of negotiating power of children can be solved through strong labor unions that not only protect children, but the entire labor force in general. Contrary to the proposition's belief, ILO's minimum age approach fails to adjust to the contemporary realities of working children. Children often work to help impoverished families to meet basic needs or because schools are not available or are prohibitively expensive. If children are not allowed to work, they and their families will end up worse off. Enforcing an arbitrary minimum age without addressing these root causes is deeply problematic. Rather, strengthening efforts to alleviate family poverty and increase access to education will do more to improve the lives of the children than allowing young children to work. Programs that provide poor families with a guaranteed monthly income, often known as a cash transfer program, have proven to be successful in reducing family poverty and increasing school enrollment and reducing child labor, as seen in Brazil and India. Meta-analysis of these programs show that 23 to 40% of students are more likely to be in school rather than their counterparts. Therefore, we're very proud to oppose the motion.
Thank you for your submission. For the conclusion part, the team with proposition University of Colombo, you have 2 minutes.
Before I begin, may I confirm that I'm clearly audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Honorable judges, I will now conclude as to why we propose this motion. Before I proceed, as humans, we must understand that we no longer live in the era of Charles Dickens' industrial England. Instead, we see that child employment impacts child development by interfering with schooling and physical and mental health. Hence, the approach we advocate for as the proposition is grounded not only in guaranteeing children's rights, but also in ensuring a country's development through an economic perspective. As forwarded by the opposition, a child living in the most developed economy gets the luxury of enjoying education, but the vulnerable child living in the least developed economy gets deprived his right to education. Instead, in such a low age, that child should work in an industry or hazardous workplace for the sole reason of contributing to the economy. This is vehemently unjustifiable. We argued that our motion is not arbitrary and it is in the best interests of children because we proved that imposing a minimum age delegitimizes child labor. Secondly, proposal ensures the right to education of children since employment results in school dropouts. And we brought empirical evidence that our proposal is in line with the international standards stipulated by international conventions, such as the Minimum Age Convention. Furthermore, as correctly pointed by my colleague, this proposal concerns the economic interests too. As she argued, the minimum age policy prevents the economic costs that occur due to child labor and exploitations in underdeveloped countries. However, any of these arguments weren't sufficiently rebutted by the opposition, and indeed they failed to prove you the fact that their concerns about fragile economies would outweigh the rights of children in any context. Therefore, for those reasons, we propose a minimum age of employment regardless of the economic and cultural differences in countries. Thank you.
Thank you for your conclusion. And now for their conclusion, team from Kathmandu University, you have 2 minutes.
First, I would like to confirm if I'm both audible as well as visible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. I would like to thank my opponents for their arguments. As the final speaker from the opposition, I would like to firmly restate our stance that with regard to the right to work and diverse cultures and economies, there should not be the same minimum legal age for employment in all countries. Based on the grounds that firstly, despite the ratification of the ILO Convention on Minimum Age and the subsequent domestic regulations in many countries, statistics prove that millions of children still participate in harmful labor practices. A 2021 report by the International Labour Organization and UNICEF shows that the number of children in child labor has risen to 160 million worldwide. The opposition's argument, inclining towards the minimum working wage standard, fails to meet the objective of reducing child labor as it does not address the informal economy or measure to address poverty, its effects such as absenteeism from school, or to prevent vulnerable households from having to resort to child labor. Why do they resort to child labor? Secondly, cultures, especially in African communities or the global south, encourage children to work to support their families while developing a skill or trade that will support them in the future. Even the ILO Minimum Age Convention that my opposition has constantly cited provides nations with the power to determine their own minimum age, as it should be done by society, community, and local governments who understand the realities of their society. If child labor is still rampant in developed countries, despite the economic development, this raises doubts as to whether it is possible to eliminate child labor by arbitrarily imposing one minimum age for employment. The arguments that we made is not against the rights of the child, but why child labor can be abolished through social reforms and not just one arbitrary number of one arbitrary age. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes the quarterfinal match between the University of Colombo and Kathmandu University. Thank you very much for your arguments. And now to kind of decompress a bit after the match, it's time for feedback. So we'll give you the floor to give your opinion on the match, on the preparation, on your team's arguments, the opposing team arguments. And let's start first with Miss Pandey. You have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a really interesting debate because we are from the global south and arguing against the global south sounds. Even the motion it was very difficult for us to prepare from the opposition mostly because we do, but it was a very interesting debate. The preparation was interesting, and the match was interesting. Of course, I liked all the points made by our colleagues, and I'm thankful for this floor.
Thank you very much. Ms. Detail?
It was an exciting match indeed. I enjoyed debating. I enjoyed listening to my opponents as well. And this was a very interesting topic as well.
Thank you very much. Ms. Abewikrama, how did you feel about the match today?
It was a really good match. Actually, there were really good points and examples brought out by our opponent team, and it was really interesting, and it was really useful because we had to do a lot of research, and that definitely contributed our knowledge regarding this topic as well. So we would like to thank our opponent team and the organizers especially the Corex Foundation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pradhan, what do you think about today's match?
I loved today's match. I think our competitors were excellent and we had a thoroughly engaging match. I wish we had more time because I wanted to say a lot of things and yeah, I just wish I had more time to engage with the team. And it was really interesting to debate in the global south and with a team that comes from the same area. And to debate on local context as well. And because we strongly believe in the motion that states should have set minimum ages on their own. It was wonderful and very lovely, and I was very passionate arguing for this side of the motion.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gamage?
Hello everyone. I would like to take this opportunity at first to thank the Corex Foundation at the Hague and the Hague University for organizing such a wonderful tournament that is very beneficial for undergraduates like us across the world. And also in relation to the debate today, I think this is one of the most interesting debates that we came across during the whole tournament. And the opposition team from University of Nepal came with really good, strong arguments. And I believe that we were able to defend them very well. And I wish good luck to them.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Shreya Joshi, if you would like to give some feedback to the two teams.
Hello. I think the debate was quite heated and it was very interesting because they were in fact responding to each other. So one side came from the idealistic notion, that there should be a number. Our side was arguing that we can't have an arbitrarily imposed number, and we're kind of debating on the number because child labor and all those plights are real. And through our preparation, I've also realized that this is a very interesting research topic in itself, and it might incite conversations for people working in child labor or labor law sector to really, really introspect on this issue, whether there should be a minimum employment age. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you both teams for your wonderful preparation and execution of your arguments in today's quarterfinals. Of course, the results of the match will be announced to you as soon as we get all three forms from the judges, and you will also receive the scores. The team that will proceed to semifinals from this match will have two more matches. One, of course, in semifinals, and the other would be either one for the first place or the ranking match for the third place. And we'll definitely have an opportunity to meet everyone again, especially in the last major networking event for the competition that is happening in the second week of June. And this event will be a bit more unique since it's not just for the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament, but it's actually an inter-competition networking event where you will be able to meet also teams that are in our French competition concours, which is running parallel to the Law Debate tournament. Actually, every other week, as organizers, we have 1 week for the French competition and 1 week for the Law Debate competition. So during this event, you will be able to meet teams and judges as well as faculty members from the other competition as well. So definitely keep an eye out for the newsletter where you will be able to register for the event. And I would just say the research was really well done. So I would also encourage you to keep an eye out for the submission for the Hague International. And you found a lot of good legal basis. So it would be good to also see it in a written form. And that way you can also step into a publishing word for the academic writing. And I would like to give the word to my colleague, Mr. Lavange.
Yes, a few last words, because everything indeed has been said for the next days and of course what you can expect. One question to each team. On the side of Sri Lanka, any of you have been already in Nepal or not?
No.
No, yes, no, not yet. On the side of Nepal, any of you have been in Sri Lanka? No. So one thing that you have in common is that both of you have a club, so Moot Society, debate club. So it will be an occasion first to invite each other virtually and then in person maybe, have a direct communication after this competition. So because if you want to organize yourself some competitions or some events as well, knowing that indeed you are from the same region and you can have some guests to invite students, to invite the other institutions, that would be an opportunity. So we encourage you, of course, to keep contact between the two teams first and between the two universities. I don't know at all if you have already some partnership between the two universities. But indeed, it's an opportunity because indeed, as well geographically, I mean, for us, we are very far in Europe, but on this side of the world where you are, I guess yes, you can think about continuing this. So yes, I see in the chat that indeed you have already some invitation to look at your own websites, I think, and groups. So please, yeah, don't hesitate to continue the experience of debating as well between yourself. And of course, on our side, we'll be inviting you to the events and the activities we have to make sure that, yes, you can connect us with more universities. So yes, yeah, you can invite each other to both Facebook groups, I guess, as well. And by the way, this is how actually we got to know each of you. It's I have seen your Facebook group, and I've seen the one of Colombo. I've seen as well that you were having activities as well on in Nepal. So that's how actually. So continue to develop it, and keep contact. If you want to exchange email address, you can send us an email, and we'll put you in contact so you can directly discuss. Yeah. So thank you again in Sri Lanka, in Nepal, and we keep in touch. And in a few days, yes, you will get the result, and we hope to see you again in the last networking event in a few days further. So thanks again. Wish you a good weekend, and yeah, we'll keep in touch. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you in June.
See you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.